The film begins with being shown a hospital in 1993. At the time there was a doctor named Dr. Weaver, who was recording because he was going to do a treatment for his patient named Gabriel. Not long after that, a chaos ensued, which caused several nurses and the security guard to die horribly, due to a creature whose origin is unknown. Then the scene is shown 28 years after the incident, to be precise, in the present. It was shown that there was a woman named Madison, who was heavily pregnant, entering the house as usual, starting with her right foot. After arriving in the room, she saw her husband named Derek watching television. Instantly, Madison turned off the television and made Derek very angry, because he was finished drinking alcohol. Derek also expressed his disappointment with Madison, because she was always busy with her work, and when she was pregnant she always miscarried. It wasn't enough that the crane immediately pushed Madison into the bedroom wall, which made Madison's head bleed. Feeling guilty, Derek apologized, but Madison was annoyed. She asked Derek that same night to sleep outside the room. A few hours later, Madison fell asleep and had a dream that her husband, who was sleeping on the sofa, was being disturbed by a creature that is not known what it was. Not only that, it turned out that the creature immediately killed Derek. When she woke up from her dream, she realized that her head was bleeding. Because she was worried about her husband, Madison checked her husband's condition, and it was true that her husband had died. Suddenly, a mysterious creature came and chased him until Madison fainted. In the morning around 4 o'clock, a group of police arrived along with Detective Kikoka and Detective Regina. They got reports from neighbors that there was a commotion at Madison's house. Long story short, Madison, who had been in the hospital, finally woke up, and beside her was her sister named Sydney, then explained that there had been an incident at Madison's house, which caused Derek to die, and the doctor could not save the baby, which was in the womb Madison. Not long after that, Detective Kako arrived and gave him an identification card to immediately contact him if something happened or get information about the incident at Madison's house. After that, Detective Kako went to examine Madison's husband's body, and the autopsy revealed that there were no fingerprints of the murderer. Detective Regina also informed that based on neighbors' information, Derek is a rude person and often gets drunk. It could be due to his own negligence. 2 weeks after the incident, Sydney escorted Madison back to her house. That evening, when Madison, after the compulsory bath, accidentally looked out the window, as if there was a black shadow. Median felt afraid. He finally decided to close all the doors and windows in his house. In the morning, Madison immediately took the initiative to lock her house with additional tools. Not long after that, Sydney arrived to meet and comfort Madison. After talking for a long time, Madison finally explained that she was actually an adopted child because his mother died while giving birth to him. Then on the other side is shown a middle-aged woman who is a tour guide for the history of the ancient tunnel. After finishing his work, he finally decided to go home, and suddenly a mysterious creature appeared and immediately pounced on him. After pounced on, then tied up the middle-aged woman and covered her mouth in isolation, while saying in a strange voice, speaking of a revenge for Dr. Weaver. And it is shown at this very moment that Dr. Weaver gets a call from an unknown person, telling him about cancer-cutting disease. That night, when Madison was going to wash her clothes, her head suddenly hurt and was bleeding, like she got hit like an indigo child. She saw Dr. Weaver in the washing machine, and instantly Madison's body couldn't move. Then a mysterious creature came and killed her. Dr. Weaver uses Dr. Weaver's trophy. In the morning, Detectives Kako and Detective Regina, as well as other police officers, come to examine the body of Dr. Weaver and find a photo of a strange child. In his hiding place, a mysterious creature uses Dr. Weaver's cup as a tool, like a sword, to kill. Knowing the death of the Dr. Weaver, Madison was shocked because what he swore really happened. In Detective Koko's office, he orders his friend, a photographer, to sketch a child's aging after 30 years, because that's the only information he can find in the case of Dr. Weaver's death. That night, when Dr. Victor, who was a colleague of Dr. Weaver, was going to sleep in his room, suddenly he began to get strange signs, and at that time Madison, who was sleeping, suddenly woke up and saw Dr. Victor in his room, and not long after that a mysterious figure came and killed Dr. Victor. Madison saw it happen right before her eyes. In the morning, Madison and Sydney decided to tell Detective Koko that she could see the death of Dr. Weaver and the death of Dr. Victor last night, which visions came suddenly. But because Detective Regina doubts Madison's statement, Aya does not believe that Dr. Victor has been killed by a mysterious creature. Then Madison tells that Dr. Victor's location is in the Silver Cup apartment. Finally, Detective Kako and Detective Regina walk through the apartment that Madison had intended. After looking for Dr. Victor's room for a long time, he finally found it, and it turned out that Dr. Victor had died in a pathetic condition. When Madison was washing her face, someone called her. With a strange and mysterious voice, it was believed to be Gabriel, who was Madison's hallucinatory friend. After Madison and Sydney left, Detective Coco's co-worker gave a picture of a small child which was very similar to Madison. Finally, Detective Coco found out that Madison was a patient of the former Dr. Weaver. Because he doesn't want to get terror from a mysterious creature who is believed to be Gabriel. Then Madison plans to meet her adoptive mother, because when she was little, a figure of Gabriel always interfered with their family when he arrived at his mother's house. Then a tape was played when Madison was little, in which Madison spoke with Gabriel. Long story short, when Detective Kakoa opened the file belonging to Dr. Weaver, he saw a recording of his strange patient. Dr. Weaver was assisted by two other doctors, Dr. Victor and Dr. John. Detective Kakoa believes that the next victim is Dr. John. Armed with the address from the website, Detective Kakoa went straight to Dr. John's place. On the other hand, it was also shown that Madison had had a vision about the condition of Dr. John, who was in his room. Too late for Detective Kakoa because Dr. John is dead. It turned out that the mysterious figure was still in the room and immediately attacked Detective Kakoa, but because the detective brought a gun, finally the mysterious figure ran away. A great chase scene ensued, although in the end Detective Kakoa did not find the whereabouts of the mysterious creature. The next morning, Detective Kakoa, along with Detective Regina, also brought a psychologist to see Madison. Tells that Madison's name is actually Amelia, but because she was adopted, she changed her name to Madison. A Gabriel figure also always interferes with Madison's life, where every action from Gabriel always gives effect to Madison. Also always asks medium to commit a crime, but Madison is still able to withstand Gabriel's wishes. It is believed that Gabriel is Madison's imaginary friend. Not long after that, suddenly a middle-aged woman who had been held captive by a mysterious figure who was believed to be Gabriel, was able to untie her bonds, and fell down right at Madison's house. Due to the evidence that is almost similar to the previous murder incident, such as a code and a goblet that was used as a knife, Madison was finally arrested, interrogated to tell the truth, but because Madison was not the culprit. Suddenly, Detective Kakoa's phone rings and it's Gabriel telling him that he is Madison's hallucination friend. Meanwhile, Sydney opened the case file for the treatment done by Madison in the past. Although alone without the slightest fear, Sydney went straight to the abandoned hospital, looking for files regarding the case from Madison. On the other hand, Madison was put in a cell, because it is currently believed to be a suspect in the case of the death of several doctors who treated her. After finding the file, Sydney took it home and played some recordings. The recording revealed an unexpected fact. It turns out that the mother of Madison was pregnant because she was raped by some irresponsible people. And it turned out that because the mother of Madison could not bear the action, he asked the doctor to make news about his death. But unfortunately for Madison, who turned out to have a disease like a strange tumor that spreads throughout her body. Like a parasite that develops and survives in Madison's body, where the parasite can completely control Madison's body, without Madison knowing. On the other hand, it is also shown that Detective Kakoa received information that the woman who fell was Madison's biological mother. Because at the time the parasite continued to grow and made Madison's body become increasingly weak. Finally, the doctor decided to cut the cancer, which part of the body of the parasite can be released from the body of Madison, but not completely because the other half is still completely part of the body of Madison. The doctor also explained that the parasite can be active again if Madison's head is hit hard. Meanwhile, Madison, who was in the cell, was being bullied by other prisoners and hit her head. Finally, here we can see together Madison's body changes and show a parasitic figure Gabriel with his evil powers. He slaughters all the people in the prison. On the other hand, Sydney is telling the detective about the past information from Dr. Weaver that Gabriel is a parasite attached to Madison's body, which yes, Gabriel's figure has been activated due to the impact on her head, which her husband did to Madison, which during this time Gabriel used Madison's body as a puppet to carry out his crimes. Immediately Detective Kako and Detective Regina immediately checked the police station, and sure enough it turned out that Gabriel had massacred all the police who were there. Meanwhile, Sydney had arrived at the hospital to visit Madison's biological mother, but not long after that, Gabriel's figure suddenly appeared and made a mess in which the goal was to kill Madison's mother. But Sydney convinces Malignant to control himself so as not to be possessed by Gabriel, but Gabriel easily kills Sydney and kills his mother. And in fact it turns out that Madison, who has managed to control the thoughts in her mind, she has deceived the figure of Gabriel, which in fact she did not kill her sister and mother, because Madison's control is higher than Gabriel's, so that she can deceive Gabriel and will lock him in his thoughts deeply. And it's over. Okay, enough of this discussion. We can conclude that Gabriel is an evil parasite who lives together with Madison, where he can take over all actions Madison does if Madison can't control her mind. Thank you.